Hello everyone, welcome back to another session of Selenium training. In this session, we are going to discuss on how to read an Excel document from using Selenium using Apache POI. So if you're familiar with the basics, just skip the video and look at the example. But if you want to gain some knowledge which will help for attending interviews, then please watch for 2 minutes. I'm just going to give some theoretical information that will help you a lot while attending interviews. So let's switch to the introduction part of reading Excel using Apache POI. So basically you might be knowing there are two kinds of extensions that we are dealing with Excel. One is .xls format and other one is .xlsx format. So as you know, the capacity of XLS is different from XLSX, which is more accepts more rows. That's a different topic for now. But just keep in mind, if you want to handle XLS file, you have to handle it another way. And if you want to handle XLSX files, you have to handle in a different way. So this Apache POI library provides a capability of reading both these types of extensions, XLS and XLSX. So for XLS, you have to implement this HSSF, and for XLSX, you have to implement XSSF interfaces, and I'll be showing that in a while. So the dependency that you will be using here is Apache POI artifact ID, and version you can choose any. And I'll go through that page as well where you can get the dependency information. And then you have to know few things before you work with Excel document. So as you already know, Excel is nothing but a workbook. It's in a technical term, or whenever you're working in coding standards or with a type of coding for Excel, so you have to remember these points so that you can write your code in a very efficient way by handling these in a separate manner. One is the workbook. The complete Excel is called a workbook, and the next one is row, or you can consider the next one is a sheet by level. If you take sheet 1, sheet 2, sheet 3, so once you open the Excel, you will navigate to the tabs or the sheets which you have here, and then you will be looking for the rows which you need, and then you will be looking for the cell, the information. It might be a string or integer value or date or anything. You'll be getting that cell value, right? So this is the basic understanding that you need to have while working with Excel so that you can be more familiar with what code is doing. Okay. Now let's see, as we have seen, workbook, Excel, workbook, sheet, row, and the cell is the pattern of traversing when you are working with an Excel sheets. Okay. And now the other classes that we'll be using. First, let us discuss what are the important classes or interfaces that you will be using for XLSS or XLS or XLSX. So basically, you'll be having an interface workbook as the initial part, and then the classes you will use for handling workbook. That means for opening the Excel, you will be using HSSF workbook for XLS and XSSF workbook for XLSX. And the next thing is you have to navigate to the sheet. So to navigate to the sheet, you'll be using a sheet interface, and these HSSF sheet and XSSF sheet implements this sheet interface. And in the same way, when you navigate to the sheet, you will be navigating to the rows. For that, row is an interface you will be using the reference as a sheet, and then HSSF row and XSSF row classes implement these row interface. And then once you navigate to the row, you'll be looking for a value that you need. So for that, you'll be needing a cell interface, and this again HSSF cell and XSSF cell classes implement these cell interface. Okay, so that's how this works. And apart from these interfaces and classes, you will be using these two classes just to mention the file path, or to read the file you will be using this file and file input stream. As we have seen in our screenshots example, we are defining the file as a path for referencing the JPG files and all those. So if you haven't watched that video, just watch those videos so that you will get some understanding on file and file input stream. Now I have given a shortcut here. If you see WSRC, which you can easily memorize. W for workbook, S for sheet, R for row, C for cell. SRC you can memorize as source. SRC is a structure for Maven, right? So you can remember like WSRC so that you can easily write step by step without copy pasting so that you will get some hands-on in coding. Okay. Now let's quickly jump to let me open Google and show you where you can find this Maven dependency. So simply type Apache POI for Excel and you'll be going to, okay, let us type Maven, and as the first link you'll be getting Apache POI, where you'll be seeing this Apache POI in the first link. It's taking time. Just give it a second. Yeah, so we have got this Apache POI. The browser is a bit slow. So yeah, you can see I'm copying this. Let me go to my Eclipse. Okay, let me close all this document. Let me delete this. Okay, so let me go to this form.xml which I already have, and let me paste the dependency here. Okay, and let me save it. So Control Shift F is the shortcut key that I use to format these in a good way. Alignments and all things will be good when you press Control Shift F. Okay, so this dependency is getting downloaded. Now let me go ahead and show you a simple Excel sheet so that you will know what exactly we are trying to do. You can see here I have a sheet, I have an Excel name called regression test data, and I have a sheet name called login details. And inside this login details, I have two columns. One is username and other one is a password. So from row number 2, I have test user 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the passwords related to these test users. And you have to remember one thing here in Excel, as you have already know this array concept, the value that you will be starting from here is not 1 but it is 0. The index value is 0 here and the second row will be 1. So that way the numbers which you are seeing is meant for only the visualization purpose of the Excel, but when you are trying to access through the code, you need to access using the index value 0. It starts from 0. So whether it might be a row or whether it might be a column. For example, A column is index 0 and B column is index 1. If you want to read these values, you have to use index of 0. If you want to read these values, you have to use index of 1. So let us see how do we do that in a simple steps so that you will get some hands-on. So I already created a package Excel read write. Now let me create a class. Let me call this class as ReadExcel, and let me include public static void main. Let me delete this comment. So as I have already told you, we should be using a file in the slide. You'll be using file and file input stream. So let us take this as one block and let us consider this as other block step by step. Now let me declare file and let me declare a variable as destination, or let me call it as file is equal to new file of. So as I already have the Excel sheet in my desktop, I don't want to put it on desktop. Always my test data should be in my within framework itself, which is a best practice. So let me create a new folder within my framework. I will call this folder as test data and finish. And I'll be pasting that Excel here. So I have my Excel in within my framework itself. Now I'll be giving the path of this within framework as well. I'll call it as system dot get property of. You have to give user dot dir in order to read the self directory or the root directory that you are working on. Okay, and I'm giving plus, I'm concatenating the path. So my path is test data, the folder which is present here. So I'll be giving test data and slash slash, and I'll be concatenating the file name. So let me take the file name and let me take only the file name. The reason being I'll tell you in a while. Plus concatenation, again I'll be using xlsx. Okay. Now why I'm giving this name here is, if I want to read an XLS or if your extension got changed, then you don't have to change the file name. Instead, you can change simply the extension. Or if your source got changed to TXT file or CSV file, you can simply replace that here. Okay. Now let us import this file from java.io, not from this uh, Gargoyle software. That's not the package that we are using. We are using a default package java.io. Now we'll be taking file input stream and we'll be considering as input stream as a variable for now, and is equal to new file input stream of. We'll be taking the file that we already gave as a reference and import this file input stream, and it asks for add throws declaration when the file is not found. So use that. Now we are going to use the classes that we discussed. XSSF, since we are using XLSX file, we'll be using XSSF workbook, XSSF sheet, XSSF row, XSSF cell. Okay, and then we'll get the data from here. 1, 2, 3, whatever the data we need, we can get using these classes. So first let me declare XSSF workbook is equal to, or you have to declare the variable object. So WB as stands for workbook, or you can give any other name that you desire. And I'll be giving XSSF workbook of. I'll be taking the input stream as a reference because this will try to open the Excel which we defined in this statement. Now import this XSSF workbook from Apache POI, and again it asks for add throws declaration. Use that. Now we are going to take workbook is done. You are going to take a sheet now. So XSSF sheet, I'll be declaring as sheet is equal to, you will be taking now workbook as reference. That means it will consider the workbook. Where is the sheet basically located? So sheet is this one, but the workbook is the regression test data workbook. So you should be giving the workbook reference. Workbook dot get sheet of. You can see here get sheet of string name and get sheet at of index. So you have two ways to access the sheet. One is by using the name, other one is by using the index. Index, when you define the index of 0, get sheet at of 0 will return you the first sheet. Get sheet at of 2 will give you get sheet at of 1 will give you the second sheet. That way again this starts from an 0 index. Okay, so I'll be considering to take by sheet name. So get sheet of, so let me copy the sheet name login details. Done. Let me import this XSSF sheet. Now we are done with the sheet. Now our job is to get into the rows and get these values. So for now, I'll be trying to get this value test user 1 and also the value test user, sorry, the password of the test user 1. I'm going to print out these both statements. So my row is 1, not 0, because this is a 0, 0, and this is the 1 that we need to access. So let me define row XSSF row. I'll be taking row as an object is equal to. So where is the row located? I mean, in which sheet? This is the login sheet, and we already created an object for login sheet. So we have to consider that reference sheet dot, you can say, get row. Okay, so get sheet, get row, get cell are the three methods that we are using to read the sheet, row, and the cell. So get row of, you can see here, there are different methods, but we are using for now get row of int row number. So what is my row number? I'll be giving 1 because I want to read from the second row, because this is the user test user 1 and password I need to get. I don't need the columns. Now let me import this as XSSF row. Now what I need is I need to get the value from the second, from this row, which is 1, and then I need to get the value of this column, which is 0. This is 0 column, this is first column, right? Now let us define XSSF cell. Cell is equal to, again, where is the cell located? Cell is located here, and I need to get the row. From this row I need to get the cell value, so you have to take the reference of the row. So row dot get cell of, let me say 0, because I need the value from the first column, which is by coding you have to use 0. So let me import this XSSF cell. Okay, let me import this. Now we are done. We are done with defining the workbook. We are done with defining the sheet. We are done with defining the row. We are done with defining the cell. Now we have to get the value of this username first, and then we will get the value of password. So we already defined the cell value to be 0, which means the first column. Now let me take a string variable and let me call it as username is equal to, again, to get the value you have to use the reference cell, cell dot get string value, get string cell value, because I know it's a string. Get string cell value, and let me print this. Let me write some username is, and let me bring this value here. Now I'm done with getting the username because it's a 0 index, right? So let me run this program now. Okay, we got some error. Let us see what is it. Illegal reflective access by Apache POI document helper file. So let us close this sheet, and okay, let me run again. Yeah, so basically the thing is we already defined this POI OAXML in the previous project. So I think this, let us comment this uh, dependency for now, and let us save it and let us try again. So this should be working now without POI Apache, because these dependencies which we have are embedded in this. So now you can see, even after commenting that, these POI libraries are still available. So let us run this now. Yeah, now you can see username is test user 1. Now let us simply take then other statement which will get me the password. So let me write here get first row or get username, or I'll say first username. And here you already defined this cell, right? So now I'll be declaring just a cell is equal to row dot get cell of 1, and I'll be taking one more variable. Let me call it as password and get string value, and let me copy this statement and let me say password is password. Now let me run this. You can see now the username is test user1 and password is password. So we got these values, right? So this way you can um, get the username and password. Okay. So if you want to get the second user, then you can change it to 2 and save it. Now run it again. You can see now we got test user 2 and password. Okay, we got the password. Let us open the Excel. You can see we got the second user and password. So these values or these variables which you have here, you can be using for sending it to the uh, in your browser. For example, like let me take an example, driver dot find element of, okay, by dot xpath of some expression, okay, dot send keys of, you can use your username here. Okay, that's the reason we use Excel to pass the data whenever we need to test different user accounts. Okay, and also there is a possibility of writing these um, results. For example, assume this is a valid password and valid username, and this is invalid username and invalid password, and this is valid, invalid, invalid, valid, such kind of permutations and combinations we have, right? So if you want to write the results here in the third row, okay, immediately after testing this, if it is passed, I mean if it is login successfully, then you have to write pass here. Here if you didn't log in successfully, then you have to write fail here. That way you can write your results also. So far we have seen only reading, so that you can pass those values to your application. In the next session I'm going to take one small application and then show you how to write your pass or test results here within the Excel, and then you can showcase your results. Okay, so we will see that in the next session. Hope you liked this video, and thanks for watching. I'll be pasting the GitHub repository link in the description box where you can take it for practice, and then create your own Excel sheet and just try to practice of your own so that you will get some hands-on. Okay, thanks for watching and have a nice day.